The icy wind howled through the narrow city streets, biting deep into the bones of anyone foolish enough to be outside on this final, cruel night of the year. Huddled in a thin shawl far too small for her, the little match girl pressed herself into a shadowed doorway. Trying to escape the worst of the gale, her tiny feet, bare and blue with cold, were numb against the frozen cobblestones. She clutched the last few matches from her apron pocket, unsold, useless now. The windows of the grand houses glowed with warm light, spilling laughter and the rich, impossible scent of roast goose onto the snowy pavement. Hunger gnawed at her empty stomach, sharper even than the cold. No one had bought a single match all day. No one had spared her a coin or even a glance filled with kindness. Fear prickled through her, colder than the frost settling on her eyelashes. If she went home without money, her father's wrath would be terrible. The warmth behind those glowing windows seemed a world away. A cruel dream she could never reach. Desperation finally overcame her fear of wasting a precious match. Shivering violently, she struck one against the rough stone wall beside her. Scratch. A bright, clear flame burst into life, warm and golden. She cupped her small, chapped hands around it instantly, sighing as the blessed heat flowed into her frozen fingers. For a moment, the biting wind vanished. The stone wall beside her seemed to melt away, transforming into the warm, gleaming iron door of a magnificent porcelain stove, radiating waves of comforting heat. Like a living thing, she stretched her stiff legs towards the glorious warmth, feeling the delicious sensation creep up her frozen toes. Oh, it was wonderful. She basked in the imaginary heat, a small smile touching her lips for the first time that day. But all too soon, the flame flickered wildly, then died. The beautiful stove vanished, leaving only the cold, hard wall, the relentless wind, and the dying smell of sulfur in the air. The warmth fled as quickly as it had come, leaving her colder than before. The darkness and cold pressed in again, heavier now, needing that glimpse of warmth, that escape. More than ever, she struck a second match. The light flared brilliantly, painting the wall beside her with dancing golden patterns. This time, the wall itself seemed to dissolve, revealing a wondrous sight. Before her stood a table covered with a snow-white cloth, laden with the most magnificent feast she could imagine. Right in the center, glorious and steaming, sat a splendid roast goose, its skin crackling golden brown, its aroma impossibly rich and savory. And then, wonder of wonders, the goose hopped down from the platter. It waddled right towards her across the floor, knife and fork neatly tucked into its back. But before it could reach her outstretched hand, the match sputtered and went out. The dazzling vision dissolved into the harsh reality of the freezing alleyway. Only the lingering phantom scent of roast goose remained, making her empty stomach clench painfully. The night deepened, the cold settling into her very bones like iron. Hope was fading, but the need for comfort was overwhelming. With trembling fingers, she struck a third match. The flame burned steadily, brighter and larger than before. Its light rose high, illuminating the space above her. She gasped. There, high up where the flame reached, stood the most beautiful Christmas tree she had ever seen. Even in shop windows, it was taller and grander than any Girôd seen before, covered in thousands of gleaming white candles that shone like captured stars, and glittering with colored balls and tinsel that shimmered like frost in sunlight. Higher the lights seemed to climb, reaching towards the dark sky itself. She felt she could see right up into heaven. And then, one by one, the beautiful candles began to drift upwards, transforming into bright, twinkling stars in the velvet blackness above. One star streaked brilliantly across the heavens. Someone is dying, she whispered softly, remembering what her dear, gentle grandmother, now gone, had once told her. The flame died, and the stars winked out, leaving only the vast, indifferent night sky. A deep longing, sharper than hunger or cold, pierced her heart. She yearned for her grandmother, the only person who had ever truly loved and sheltered her, who was now in that place beyond the stars. Oh, grandmother. She cried out into the emptiness, her voice thin and broken. Please, take me with you. I know you will vanish when the match goes out, just like the warm stove and the wonderful goose and the beautiful Christmas tree. Driven by a desperate need to keep this vision near, she gathered every single remaining match in her trembling hand with a final, determined effort. She struck the whole bundle against the wall at once. A tremendous blaze flared up, brighter than noonday. In that dazzling, almost blinding radiance stood her beloved grandmother, clearer and more real than ever before, bathed in a soft, golden light that seemed to come from within her. She looked kind and strong, her face filled with infinite love and tenderness, her arms open wide. Grandmother, the child cried, tears freezing on her cheeks. Oh, take me. Don't leave me here. I know you will go when the fire burns out. She threw her thin arms wide, desperately reaching towards the luminous figure. Her grandmother simply smiled, that warm, familiar smile that held all the comfort in the world. She leaned down and gathered the little girl into her arms, holding her close, enveloping her in a warmth that banished the icy night completely. It was a warmth that flowed into the child's heart and soul, filling her with a peace and happiness she had never known. They rose together, higher and higher, effortlessly soaring upwards. Bathed in that radiant light, up they flew, far above the cold earth, towards a place where there was no hunger, no cold, no fear, no pain. In her grandmother's loving embrace, the little girl felt only profound safety and overwhelming perfect joy. The fierce wind below became a distant sigh. The cold dawn of the new year crept over the city, painting the snow a pale pink. Huddled in the corner of the doorway, the little match girl sat with a smile frozen upon her pale lips. She appeared to be asleep, her head resting peacefully against the cold stone. In her lap lay the empty match packet, the spent bundle still clutched in her small hand. People passing by murmured sadly, "Poor thing." She tried to warm herself. They saw only a child who had succumbed to the bitter cold. They couldn't see the glorious, joyful journey her spirit had taken. They couldn't see the loving grandmother who carried her upwards, away from all suffering, into an everlasting dawn filled with light and perfect warmth. They didn't know the beautiful vision she beheld in her final moments, or the profound peace that finally settled upon her innocent face as she found her way home, forever in the warmest dream of all.